once again run myself out of time. So I'm going to continue with three-dimensional commands. Like I said, I was using the slice command. So I'll go ahead and type slice. Select object to slice. I'm going to slice this block. So now I need to specify starting point of my slicing plane. The interesting thing about the slice command, we can see that there's a whole bunch of different options I can do for a slice. I can use one of the coordinate planes. I think I can just do a distance from that plane. So if I did the XY plane, I would do a distance up in Z that would be a section or a slicing plane parallel to the XY plane. Or I can use, the default is 3 points. The interesting thing about it though, we actually want to click on 3 points. For some reason the default doesn't actually let you pick 3 points. It's a little strange. So I think the default, I'm actually not even sure what's going on, but point is we're going to pick 3 points. So I'm going to select 3 points for just to set up my plane. So I will click this corner. I'll go to the end of this line I made earlier. I could either go up to this corner or I'll go here. So now what it's asking me to do is specify a point on desired side. I could keep both sides and it would turn into 2 objects and then I could delete one, or it will get rid of a side for me. So I know I'm either going to click somewhere up here, which will keep the desired side is the part of the object that's going to be kept after the slice. So I could either click above, or I'd like to get rid of the top part, so I'm going to click down here below the slicing plane. So I'll click down low, and we can see it just took a nice cut through that slicing plane I set up. So one last command that I will show. We can see there's a list of commands I'm using here in the topics and instructions. One last command I'll show is the union command, which joins three-dimensional solids. We usually don't want to use that until we're done with the majority of the commands that we want to use, but when you union solids, that means that you can apply edits to them at the same time, and we'll keep them together. So if I have another object that is, related to the center of this line, if I'm scaling or something, it will keep it in the location I'd like it to be in. So I'm going to use my extrude command again this time. So I will do a rectangle. My corner point, I'm going to go actually to the midpoint, and I'll just draw a little rectangle here. Doesn't matter how big it is. So I've got a 2-dimensional rectangle. I'm going to use that extrude command again. This time I will give it a height of 2.5. So I've got 2 separate solids, but if I use the union command, I can select both of those solids, hit enter, and now we can see I've just got one 3-dimensional solid. So that was really just scratching the surface of 3D. As far as solids go, I can briefly show some planes or surfaces rather than solids. So if I was just drawing a line, our normal line thing will work just fine. So if I specify a starting point, I'm in the XY plane, so I'll turn off ortho mode so we can see what's going on. It just keeps me in the XY plane. So what I can do is, if I want to specify another corner point, if I say I want to go to corner point 24, 28 or something, I can type an additional comma. And so you can see I've got another value to put in. So if I put in a z value of 5, I've suddenly got, if I rotate myself around, we can see I've suddenly got a line that is protruding upward off the XY plane. If I were to demonstrate that thickness, if I type in thickness, I can enter a thickness value. If I enter a thickness value of, 2, if I were to draw a line again or a if I were to draw any two-dimensional object, like if I were to draw a polygon, I'll give it 5 sides, center point I'll do here. We can see that this polygon I made is not a solid. It's a surface. So it's just giving me a surface for each one of the sides. So it gave a z value or a height for each one of the sides of my object rather than filling it in as a solid. So that means I would not be able to subtract or union this. It's still considered, like if I highlight over this, it thinks it's a 3D solid, but this guy is still considered a polyline, which is still technically, it's still thinking it's a two-dimensional object, but we know it's actually a three-dimensional surface. So you could still play around with the visual styles and learn about X-ray is kind of neat as well. We can still see the wireframe and the shading, but we can sort of see a transparent view, so we can see through things. So you can play around with the visual styles and the three-dimensional commands in the ribbon. There's also a lot of commands that you can type. I guess I'll just show one last command that I know is going to be needed for the homework in the near future. So you can actually fillet a three-dimensional object. So if I'd like to fillet this object, see. Okay, that's right. A three-dimensional object, rather than doing a fillet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type fillet edge. So it allows me to pick edges on these. It defaulted to a radius of 1, which is probably fine for what I'm doing. Actually, I'll change my radius to 0.5. And then, so now I'm going to click the edges that I'd like to fillet. So I'll just do these front 3 edges. So now if I hit enter, we can see. So I have to press enter one more time, or I can change the radius. I'm going to hit enter and accept that fillet. So now I've got a radiused edge to my solid, just based on the edges that I picked. And again, that was the fillet edge command. So that's probably enough for three-dimensional introduction. I would recommend just playing around with more of the three-dimensional commands in the ribbon up here.